Congressman, good morning, sir. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing good. John and Dana, it's good to be on with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Congressman.
Congressman, you heard Charlie Rangel there, never one without words, and he says that all the Republican Party wants to do right now is get past the November elections, in the process embarrass President Obama. You got a little action up there this week. I know that you're going to try to loosen the job-killing regulations. You think you're doing enough?
Well, I don't think we're getting enough done. I mean, in reality, we've offered over 30 jobs bills that the Senate just sits on. It's not like the House hasn't been hard at work since I've gotten here. And, we've entered the silly season in Washington, D.C., and what Congressman Rangel just said is nonsense. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to get something done up here, but politics has ruled the day, and that type of rhetoric doesn't help.
Well, as you said, Congressman, it's the silly season, but with some very serious issues on the table, talking about this looming fiscal cliff, tax-mageddon, whatever you want to call it. American people are starting to realize that this is going to have serious impact unless something is done. But as the Congressman said, you're looking at Congress leaving town and not getting anything done. How close are we to this fiscal cliff? And will we go over, as some high-level Democrats are saying, let it happen?
Well, yeah, you've got, if the Democrats want to go over the fiscal cliff, that's up to them. That's a choice that they make. And you talk about politics, that's a political choice. The House of Representatives next week will vote to extend the tax rates for a year so that when President Romney's in place, we'll be able to do comprehensive tax reform and begin to fix the systemic problems that we have in an over-complex tax code that's unfair at almost every level. And so I think that's what's going to happen.
All right, Congressman, let's get to this jobs bill. That's first and foremost on the minds of the American people. The dust up over whether what the president's comments on small business and the like is just focusing on small business, and what business owners say is the real dilemma that they're facing, that there are too many regulations, that they can't get the capital even if they wanted to hire people. It is still all about jobs, and what is Congress doing about it?
Well, it's fascinating to me how in about 3.5 years we've gone from yes we can to don't you dare. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we've got. We've got a president who says you didn't build that. We've got regulators who say you can't build that. And now we have job creators saying we won't build that. And we shouldn't be surprised at it. The government's been at war with small business and particularly entrepreneurial startups for this entire administration. There's a lot of talk, Dana, about the gap between the rich and the poor in America and how the middle class is shrinking. Well, in a great extent, it is shrinking because the government has so over-regulated, so over-licensed the opportunity to start new businesses that people are having a difficult time elevating themselves out of those places. My dad started our family's roofing business in 1958 on grit and determination, but he was able to do that because there was an environment that encouraged entrepreneurship. And we're doing the exact opposite. This bill is intended to get at that.
Are you saying your father was not helped by the government in starting that company?
No, my dad just did it because he worked hard. And you know what? I remember growing up and my dad not being home at dinner time, my dad often being gone at night, my dad not being able to make sporting events because he was working hard building his American dream. And that's a really essential point. When we start talking about the American dream, everybody's dream is different. But in this case, the government is now wanting their dream to be your dream. And I want people to dream for themselves. And the way you do that is by removing the barriers to entrepreneurial startups.
All right, I want to let our listeners know what's going on Capitol Hill today. On the other side from the House, we've got the Democratic-led Senate. They're going to be holding what you can call a procedural vote today to start considering this $250 billion Democratic bill. Now, this would extend the tax cuts for those of you listening that make under $200,000 a year. But one of the frustrating things for me, Congressman, as one who covered Capitol Hill for many years, is you use the word silly season. It's all political theater. And this is what's frustrating. You got a plan that might be in the Senate side. It can't pass the House side because you guys are Republicans. You got the House Republican plan. It can't pass the Democratic-led Senate side. It is frustrating what our founding fathers presented us here with in balancing this government.
Well, to a certain degree, it's frustrating. And it's frustrating for me as I'm a first-term member, came out of the private sector having never served in any public office before.
Wow.
And so I do get frustrated by the pace. But then I'm reminded of the fact that our founders set up a system of government that was intended to reduce and minimize the strength of a federal government. by saying, listen, you shouldn't move forward with things if you cannot find consensus. What you can agree on, go do those things. But what you disagree on, don't do those things. And that's where we're at. And I think it'd be an interesting history lesson. I'm not going to give it to your listeners now because I want them to do their own research. But go back into history and find out the last time this country had a Democrat president, a Democrat Senate, and a Republican House of Representatives, and compare the two.
Reid Ribble, the Republican congressman from Wisconsin. Congressman, we'd love to have you back, sir. Thank you.
Hey, anytime, John. Dana, thanks for having me on. And, John, come on up to the Packard game. I'd love to see you there.
I'm going to take you up on that. Thank you, sir, for that. I appreciate it very much.